Calvin Wade Koch, born in Celeryville, across from the church. I was born in May 11, 1927. Well, I was the youngest, and they always said I was spoiled, but I don't think I was. Stephen John Koch was the oldest. My oldest sister was Marie Ellen, and
she was a nurse.
my other sister was Adriana Margaret, and
She lives right next door.
Yeah, and we all three lived next to each other, and my brother just lived down the road, across from Eddie Weir's where he used to live. And my dad came over on the boat when he was 5 years old. He landed in New York. It was 1896 when my dad came over. Then the family went to Cleveland, and my grandpa Cope didn't like Cleveland at all. And one day the minister from Cleveland said, I have to go out to Celeryville to preach. He said, you're on one ride along. So when he got, he said, yeah, I'd like to do that. So he did, came out to Celeryville, and then he got seeing what was happening out here in the muck, and there was still land available to buy. So when he got back to Cleveland, he says, I just signed up, we're moving to Celeryville.
Did your parents speak Dutch to each
They
other?
could, but they never did.
Oh, okay.
My dad said right away when he got out here, he said, we're speaking English. Stephen had BB gun, and what he would do is I'd have a jacket on and he'd just shoot me in the back with my jacket. And every once in a while he'd drop down and get me right in the butt. When he'd do that, I'd turn around, tear back to the house for Mom, and he'd grab me and give me a nickel or something so I wouldn't tell her. I remember one time too, we were coming home from the muck. We used to get up really, really early in the morning. It would be daylight, we'd be out there in the muck already. We'd have a lunch at 9 o'clock and a noon meal. Well, growing up young was fun in Celeryville. I remember when we only had one lane that was covered with blacktop, the other was gravel, and piles of, they were going to eventually change it, and there would be piles of sand there that we played with in our trucks and right in the road. Later on, when they got both sides blacktop, they didn't put salt on the roads like they do nowadays, and so we would get behind cars and hang on when there was ice or snow on the road, and hang on with sleds. And then our folks would find out about it, we'd get chewed out, because it is kind of dangerous. But we did quite a bit of that. At one time it was so icy, we ice skated right straight out here on the road. It was cold, definitely colder then. One time, Kenny kept track. Kenny was a cousin and also my partner, also brother-in-law. So I saw a lot of Kenny growing up. But anyway, he kept track and we played hockey 52 times one winter. I lived right next door to my cousin Corwin Weirs, and so we were best of friends growing up. I would say that after service, it was mostly with Herman, but there was a group of us kids that pretty well stayed together. But Herman Mall was probably my best friend later on. But when I was born, my mom didn't have enough milk, and Ann with Cora born, we were just a few days apart. So he was born the 23rd, and so I would also get milk from Ann.
Grandpa, you were taller, right?
Yeah.
That was
A
why.
little bigger, and Cora always held that against me, said, you got more milk than I did.
You had that assignment in school, remember?
Yeah.
To make a statement out of your initials.
And I had,
And that's the
Yeah.
one you came up with,
Yeah.
can't without core.
we hunted together too, we hunted quite young. And we jumped across one ditch, and Cora's the gun he had went right into a snowbank. And Cora said, what should I do? And I said, shoot it out. So he did, and but just a little ways away from him, it broke the barrel, split the barrel. It could have killed him. That's about the dumbest thing you could probably do. And did we ever get chewed out when we got home and showed Dad?
There was another dumb thing you did when you all got in the creek down there, and saw Donnie Mall coming, so what did you do?
We used to swim in a canal around the bend. There was a kind of low spot there, and it was deep. So Donnie Mall came running, and we'd all wonder how deep it was going to be. And we'd say, really, really, we'd tell him it's really deep. So we all got down and bopped to our neck, and he about broke his neck when he dove in. So right away he hit the
I said,
ground.
dive in.
And everything I remember growing up too is they didn't have the tile in like they do nowadays, but we had a lot of flooding out on the muck. And I remember seeing it right from here all the way to the canal, the second ditch over. All the whole thing would be
Wow, water.
covered with water.
My name is Marilyn Jean Seitzema Koch, and I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and went through high school, no college, and 1 year after high school, I married this man.
Yeah, when we first started dating, I would drive up probably once every 3 weeks, and then pretty soon every 2 weeks. And we dated for about a year. And we decided, well, why don't we talk about getting married? So I said, well, I asked your dad. And he said, yeah, that'd be just fine. He said, but she's kind of young. I'd like to have her wait another year. So, which we did. So we got married May 1, 1952. I was born in 1927, and I thought, well, I'll get a young girl, and that way she'll take care of me when I get old. So now that I'm almost 90, I got a good girl taking care of me.
We help each other.
So Aunt Marilyn, what did you think of Celeryville?
I was so wow in love that it was just, everything was fine. And a very fine family to help me here. You know, my mother-in-law sparkled. She's Henrietta Burma, married John Koch. I came here because my sister married Cal's cousin. He thought that we should date, so.
That was Kenny. And I said, there's no way. I said, I've been in service, back out again, and she's still in high school, and you want me to date her? I said, no way I'm going to date her. He talked me into it, so I did. For saying what a nice car my dad had, and it was mine.
We got in the car and I said, wow, your dad has a nice car. It was a brand new 52 Buick, and this is what he did. You're not out with a high school kid tonight, honey. That first night we went to a Calvin College play called Dear Ruth. My first dates with Cal was
The Row Hotel.
to
It
the
was at the
Row
Row
Hotel.
Hotel.
Aw.
That was our first date.
And he,
First meal.
and yeah, we were with Kenny and Phil. The waiter had a tray on his hand, and he was waiting for the signal that he come serve us. And he marched over and he swooped down with that tray, put it in front of me and said, what will you have? I know how to order burger and fries, you know, but that menu was different. And he came to my rescue and he said, she'll have a T-bone steak. And he said to me, how would you like that? I said, with French fries.
I came back home and Steve said, well, how'd the day go? And I said, you know, I'm going to marry her someday. She worked her talent. But anyway, she always said, Marilyn and Phil, don't do what I did. So I was thinking about my career, waiting way too long before we had children. And then when we wanted to, then I wasn't able to get pregnant. So we didn't. Joan was born 1 day less than 9 months. we took that advice to heart. My dad wanted to build another house. He built this one. And he wanted to build another one a couple houses over. He was going to sell it to Dick Burma, my cousin. And whoa, you're going to sell this house? I'll buy it. You know, I said, what do you want for it? He said, $7,500. And he threw in the refrigerator and the stove.
Early in our married life, Cal would get up early because his dad had a little muck land out there, and the three of them would farm it. So he'd always get up early, put his clodhoppers on and his muck clothes, and he'd like dig potatoes, or get dirty. Then he'd come home mid-morning and take a shower so that he could get down to the Holland Market and get work done. Then he'd put his white shirt on and go to work there. And then on certain days, he'd have to drive the truck at night, so he'd come home at 4 o'clock, get his truck clothes on, and then be gone.
We started out as just a fruit and vegetable stand on the corner of Myrtle Avenue and 224. And then later on, we decided to get into groceries, so we expanded it, added on to it. And we were on the corner there for maybe 15 years. There was a supermarket down 224, and they decided to close. So we closed our store, or we sold it actually, and then moved down there, so we'd have more room. Altogether, we were in a supermarket about 45 years. After that, I working out here in the yard, and I knew I was going to try to find something to do because I was 63 and not quite ready to quit working. Jimmy Weir saw me standing there, and he stopped and he said that I wondered if you'd like to work for us. And I said, well, I would. I said, but I don't know a thing about computers. But he said, well, we'll teach you. So I went to work for Weir's then, Weir's Farm, and that's right across from Jerry. So I always had a lot of questions at first about computers. He was always really willing to help and never seemed like he resented that at all. It was real good that way. So then I worked for them 20 years and 10 months.
Wow, wow.
So I retired when I was 85.